Hey guys, this is the Fifth Alignment. I'm Hob Bramble, and this is another video on basic epic strategy. This is a by request video. It may be made redundant by the, I believe, coming very soon How to Play videos by White Wizard, but nonetheless it's been requested a lot, and it can't hurt to have two videos on the same thing, so I'm doing it anyway. This is just a video on how attacking and blocking work. It's not covering any strategy so much as just the basic rules of how attacking and blocking work. Including breakthrough champions. I'm going to talk about them a little because I'm going to talk about them and one other situation that I think tend to trip up a lot of new players, so hopefully people can kind of get a hang for that. Another just quick thing to notice, I'm not showing the back of the cards anymore because I've sleeved them with matte backs. They're nice little green back here now. So I'm just showing the front of the box, which I cut off the original Epic box and glued to this Ultra Pro box, because sleeved, even if you have the Kickstarter bonus pack, even if you put all the tokens and the rulebook in, everything sleeved fits in two of these, and you can get these for about $2 at Walmart. I know there are double deck boxes out there, but I found this to be a little cheaper where I was looking. Your mileage may vary. So, it's stuck on there with some Elmer's spray adhesive, by the way, if you want to cut your box up and glue it to a thing, just so you still have the box look. I don't know. Anyway, so, all attack begins the same way, with the attacker declaring his attacking champion. In our case, we're going to use White Knight. He's a 9 attack, 9 defense, good human champion. After the attacker declares his champion, the attacker can then play any number of powers and events he wishes. Then he passes. There's not necessarily a lot you're going to play now, but let's say you have an event card that will buff your champion, or you have a champion who's not attacking, who you can tap to buff another champion. Right now you may use those to get this one buffed up. That's up to you. So the attacker declares his champion, then plays any powers he wants. Then the defender can play any number of powers and events. If the defender wished, at this point, the defender could play something, say, like Chomp, which we'll look at a couple times here, deals 12 damage to a target champion, and destroy White Knight. Then, assuming, the events they played destroyed all the attackers, the attack's over. After the defender plays any numbers of powers and events they want, this could also include ambush champions. This is a great time to play those if you don't have any champions already out. You can play an ambush champion right now because they can be played when events can be played. They could be played now. After they've played them, they pass back to the attacker. If the defender has played any powers, now the attacker gets another chance to play them. So this could go back and forth a bit. The defender could at this point, say, play an ambush champion. Say, Lurking Giant. This does not mean this champion has been declared a blocker yet. Defender just played him using ambush, so to use him as a spell. He's not blocking yet. So at this point, since the attacker has another chance to play powers, the attacker could play Chomp and destroy Lurking Giant before Lurking Giant and even gets declared as a blocker. If this happens, again, there's still no blockers here, because it isn't until after both have gone through their first set of playing powers that the opponent then will declare his blocker. In this case, our sample, the opponent is going to declare Angel of Light. Angel of Light is a 5/6 champion, and they're going to declare it as a blocker. After the defender declares a blocker, the attacker can then play any number of powers and events. Again, could play buffs, could play something like Chomp to destroy this, and then the defender gets to play any number of powers and events, and then passes back to the attacker, and it goes back and forth till no one else is playing powers and events again. This routine can sort of screw a lot of people up because, again, and it's especially notable with things like Ambush, which both of these cards, in fact, have, I believe, yes. When you play an Ambush champion as an event, that's not declaring it as a blocker. So if you play it as an event, the attacker has a chance to play another event before you declare it as a blocker. Furthermore, later in the combat, when you are playing, say, your events, if you're playing more events as a defender, if you play an ambush champion, playing it doesn't make it a blocker. Playing puts it in front of you. It can only declare blockers at that initial declare blocker step. It's good to look into the rulebook and go over this a few times. Just the play order, the A, B, C, D, E, F here. Danger step isn't called G. I personally think it should be, but hey. That is something you should run over a couple times. This is the only way to really get this in your head is to do it a couple of times. Once you have it down, we'll take a look now at having the actual attack. So, we have Angel of Light versus White Knight. Now, White Knight does 9 attack damage. Angel of Light has 6 defense. White Knight has 9 defense. Angel of Light does 5 damage. The way damage is dealt is both players will determine where damage goes. Attacking players first, then defending players. But the damage is dealt simultaneously. That is, if the attacking player, me here, declares my 9 damage will all be dealt from White Knight, will all be dealt to Angel of Light. That will be enough to destroy Angel of Light, as Angel of Light only has 6 defense. But before Angel of Light's destroyed, Angel of Light still gets to do its 5 damage to White Knight. So White Knight will be knocked down to 4 defense. If White Knight had less defense, this does mean, and this will often happen, both champions will be destroyed. This is actually a fairly common scenario. If both have a high enough attack and a low enough defense, both champions will just mutually destroy each other. This will happen a reasonable amount. In this particular situation, it won't, but Angel of Light will still be doing 4 damage, or 5 damage to White Knight, leaving White Knight with 5 defense. But, of course, White Knight's going to do enough damage to destroy Angel of Light in this situation. White Knight isn't destroyed here, but White Knight will still not do any damage to the opponent, to the defender. This is because the attack was blocked. Even if the blocker is destroyed, that the attack was blocked means the attack remains blocked, and the attacking champion does no damage to the opponent unless it has breakthrough, which we'll get to in a second. This includes the following scenario, and this is another one that trips people up. We have White Knight attacking, Angel of Light blocking. On the attacker's opportunity to play powers, the attacker plays Chomp, which does 12 damage to a target champion, and uses it to destroy Angel of Light. Now, there are no champions blocking. But in this scenario, unlike the other, where Angel of Light was played but not chosen as a champion yet, here Angel of Light was declared as a blocker and then destroyed after being declared. Because Angel of Light was declared as a blocker, even though she's been destroyed now, White Knight will not do any damage to the defending player. I will not damage my opponent here, because even though this 9 attack doesn't have to go anywhere, even though there's no champions left on the board for it to attack in this scenario, he doesn't have breakthrough, and the attack was blocked. A blocker was declared. So it doesn't matter that the blocker is destroyed. The attacker will not do damage to my opponent. This damage only happens if the attack was never blocked at all, or if someone has breakthrough. This is a big thing that trips people up, because it feels like damage should go to my opponent. Where else is it going? But it doesn't matter. Again, if it's blocked at all, no damage goes on. A mild strategy thought, if your opponent's using ambush champions and you have the opportunity to destroy them between him playing it and declaring it as a blocker, do it. Now, breakthrough champions, the guys who work a little differently. We're going to play a breakthrough champion this time. We're going to play Burrowing Worm. We're going to attack with Burrowing Worm. Burrowing Worm is an 18-18 champion, and Burrowing Worm has breakthrough. In this case, let's say our defender defends still with Angel of Light. Angel of Light being 5/6. Burrowing Worm will do 6 damage to Angel of Light to destroy it. This leaves Burrowing Worm with 12 more damage to deal. Because Burrowing Worm has breakthrough, Burrowing Worm can do this 12 damage to our opponent, to the defender. To change up the scenario a little more, let's give there to be 2 defending champions. In this case, their combined defense is 11. This leaves Burrowing Worm with 7 leftover attack to deal to the opponent. Breakthrough champions in this sense are kind of simple. You add up all the defense of your opponents, and if the breakthrough champion's attack is higher than that, the excess will be dealt to the defending player, to your opponent. What throws this off a little is a scenario such as this one, where we have Lurking Giant and Burrowing Worm. Lurking Giant does not have breakthrough. Lurking Giant does 11 damage. There's 11 defense over here. If Lurking Giant chooses to do its 11 damage to these 2 opponents, to these 2 champions, that's 11 defense and 11 damage. It would seem to destroy these 2, leaving Burrowing Worm with 18 attack that it can direct entirely to the defender. This isn't, however, how it works. When calculating breakthrough, the defense value of all of your opponent's champions is added up, and then the attack value of your breakthrough champions only is added together. It's the excess attack value of your breakthrough champions only that will be dealt to your opponent. So in this case, for determining breakthrough damage, you'll ignore Lurking Giant entirely. You'll focus only on the 18 attack Burrowing Worm has. That doesn't mean Lurking Giant can't damage these guys or destroy them. He absolutely can at the end of the combat, but that's not helping Burrowing Worm damage your opponent, damage the defender. If you have 2 breakthrough champions, this will be a little different. Say we had Juggernaut, who has breakthrough. Well, now our total breakthrough damage is 9 plus 18. We have 27 breakthrough damage. So in this case, they will together deal out the 11 here and take the leftover from that and deal all of it to our opponent, to the defender. So remember that when you are dealing with the damage for breakthrough champions, you add up only your breakthrough champion's attack and you compare that to the defense of all defenders. You do not add in your non-breakthrough champions when determining this to find out how much excess you have to damage the defending player, your opponent. If you can remember that, add up all defenders and compare it only to breakthrough champions damage. And remember that even if there are no blockers left at the end of combat, if there were blockers declared, the combat does not attack your opponent unless you have breakthrough, then you'll have the 2 things that tend to trip most people up out. Now, as one final clarification, and it's just sort of worth mentioning. Let's say our opponent defends with Lurking Giant while we're attacking with Burrowing Worm. Now, let's say we play Chomp and destroy Lurking Giant entirely. Now, obviously, if we didn't have breakthrough, as explained before, because the defender was declared, we don't damage our opponent. However, because we have breakthrough, we will now deal all 18 damage to our opponent, because it is you add up the defense at the end of combat and subtract that from your attack to get your excess breakthrough damage. So in this case, you're not adding up how many defenders were declared, you're adding up how many defenders were left for dealing breakthrough. So by destroying the champions in this way, you can deal all 18 breakthrough damage. So, that's the basics of attack and defense in Epic. Now there's a few other things to think about, such as airborne champions, which can only be blocked by other airborne champions. But airborne defenders can defend anything, but they're the only ones that can defend against airborne attackers. Or ambush, which you can play an ambush champion, as we sort of went over earlier, at a time where you could otherwise only play an event. And there's also blitz champions who can attack as soon as they're played, whereas regular champions, while they can defend right away, cannot attack on the turn they're played. Only blitz champions can. All of these things are worth reviewing and getting into, but none of them are the core things that seem to throw people up about attack. It seems to really be the breakthrough and the blockers. So again, one last time, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record. If an attack is blocked at any point, the attack is blocked entirely. Damage is not dealt to your opponent. If I were to play Lurking Giant and no blockers are declared, Lurking Giant will deal all 11 damage. But if blockers are declared, unless the champion has breakthrough, no damage is dealt directly to the defender. Breakthrough champions, you add up all your breakthrough attack, compare it to the total defense without your non-breakthrough champions being included. Ignore them. Add up your breakthrough champions' attack, compare it to the total defense of your opponent's defending champions, blocking champions, and the excess of that is the damage you'll deal. And that is calculated by the end of combat, the amount of champions that are left. You'll base that on the ones left at the end of combat. That's it. If you can keep those things in mind, you're going to have a much, much easier time with attacking and defending. The only other thing you may want to do is review when powers are able to be played, and the best way to do that isn't really to have me explain it, it's to just look through the rulebook the first couple times you play the game and have a good feel. Okay, hope this was informative and helpful. We should hopefully, maybe I'll have some videos soon of actual play going on. I'd like to do that. We'll see what we can do. But I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Thanks for all the kind words. I've gotten some from quite a few people, including Nathan Davis at White Wizards, which was great. I hope you keep enjoying these. I should have another out in about a week. I'm going to be a little busy for the next 7 days, but keep your eye out. And thanks for watching.